Well, here we are, just hours away from the start of the Final Four at the Australian Open, the men's semifinals, only hours away. And I find myself not just thinking about, but feeling kind of sad for the Demon, Alex de Minaur. First, just take a look at the way after his brutal beatdown in straight sets, 3-2-1, as we like to say in the old days. You don't see that in quarterfinals, number 1 versus number 8, not a top 10, a top 8 matchup. It's not too often you see a brutal beatdown like this, 6-3, 6-2, 6-1, 3-2-1 to him. I call this Death Row Demon because when he walks into the press conference, it looks like he just found out that he's been sentenced to death row.
Alex, bad luck. Did you ever see Jannik play better than tonight?
I don't know. It's
What a question. Bad luck, Alex. Bad luck. Yeah, that's one way to put it. I mean, I guess it is bad luck because, and as Demon will point out, we're going to play a few clips in this intro today from the Demon. As he'll point out, sure, it's bad luck to have to play Sinner in the quarters, I guess. You know, you'd rather meet him in the final, sure. You could say it's bad luck. I think this is more bad luck, that the conditions this year, very strange. All the night matches, the temperature is dropping. I'm sorry to you Europeans that don't understand Fahrenheit, but the temperature is dropping down to 50s, which is just the coldest I can ever recall happening at the Australian Open. Typically, it's hot even at night at the Australian Open, so to go into the 50s is very rare. So maybe there is some bad luck there. Let's listen a little bit more. Is this the question I'm thinking of here?
with the conditions a little bit slower and a little bit later at night, it's pretty tough to make him miss or hurt him. And yeah, he was bloody good tonight.
Right, and we'll get a little bit more into that. Okay, that was not the one I was thinking of. That's just more about, Demon saying, look, with these conditions, it's very tough, especially to beat someone like Sinner, who can absorb the best that you have and then hit some real firepower through the slow conditions. Anyways, that won't happen again, luckily, for the other guys in this draw trying to beat defending champion and world number 1, Jannik Sinner. I believe it was 51 degrees was the low point, which is extremely cold for Australian summer. It's shocking. If we look forward, semifinals, the low is already 59. And if we go to the finals, which the last time anyone's going to play in the daytime conditions will be Djokovic at 2:30 local time against Zverev. The temperature will go only as high as 72, so it's not going to be like a super hot day or anything. It's probably good conditions for Joker. Not too cold for him to make it harder for him to hit through Zverev's defenses, and not too hot to test Joker in tougher conditions. So 72, pretty nice, and the low is 59. So already that's an improvement. Sunday in the final, it's going to be a night final. It's 7:30 local time, I believe. And the low is 65, which you will take that over 51 big time. So he will not enjoy, Sinner won't enjoy conditions like that against the other opponents who are better equipped than the Demon with more firepower to hurt him in slower conditions. Anyways, I love this question. The media always has a way to do this. Talk about kicking you when you're down. This question is something like, Mr. Demon, playing in front of your beloved home crowd in Australia, being an Australian yourself, does it hurt extra bad to fail in front of your friends and family who want you to succeed so badly?
Thousands of people cheering you on. I just wondered, does that make it more difficult then when you're out there and struggling to sort of find any way to hurt it?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I know that whole crowd has got my back. They want me to go out there, make it competitive, try to make it into a match, and I'm trying my best. And if anything, it's frustrating that I can't do it, right? That I'm doing my best, but I can't make it into even a match where the crowd can get behind and start supporting,
I mean, he's a good sport. He tried to do a good job answering the question. And to be fair, it's not the worst question. You just got to be delicate about the way you phrase it. And she wasn't as bad as others I've heard before. But the media, they weren't happy with that, the tennis media. They wanted to know more about why, Demon, did Sinner kick your ass so badly today? Could you tell us, Mr. Demon?
I think he's probably my worst matchup, and you can see it in the head-to-head. But in these types of conditions, it's even tougher to play against him. So you go out there, you compete, you try everything, you bring every sort of different look that you can, but in these types of conditions where it's a little bit colder and you can't really get the ball out of his strike zone and he can just unload and not miss, it's tough. You know, I think
I got a stat on that.
if we're playing middle of the day on a stupidly hot day, then that's when you can see some errors come out, and that's when you probably see Jannik not play at his best. But conditions like today, it's tough to rattle him at all.
Absolutely. What did he say earlier? Oh, we're not going to have any more stupid hot conditions, as he was talking about. In fact, the weird thing, now, what is it, 15 days of Australian Open? They added an extra day. In the 15, 16 days, whatever it is, we only had like 2 stupidly hot days. It's been a weird Australian Open. Anyways, going back to how he was saying he could unload on the ball. Take a look at this stat. This tells you everything you need to know. Average topspin rate, Sinner's like 1,000 almost ahead on the rotations per minute. 2,787 rotations on the ball per minute for Sinner's forehand versus 1,896 for the Demon. In the backhand, he's a good 500-something plus, 1898 RPM over 1375 RPM for the Little Demon. And that explains a lot when he talks about the conditions, because with the lower rotations on the ball, every time Demon tries to rev it up and hit through the slower conditions and try to hurt Jannik in some way, he's going to make more and more unforced errors, and it gets riskier and riskier. Whereas Sinner, with the incredible movement and court coverage, flexibility, you know, he's like, this is why I said years ago that of the young players I'm looking at, if one's going to dominate Big Three style, I thought it was always Sinner, and because it's kind of like he's like Djokovic 2.0. He's a little bigger, a little more powerful, more spin on the ball, movement very similar to the Joker, his length, his balance, the way he can slide into shots on the forehand and backhand side and hit them hard, not just slide there and slice it back, but slide in and rip it back. That's a big deal. And, the Joker, he's going to have more spin than the Demon. That's something he had to work on in his younger days. The Joker was hitting too flat, making too many unforced errors, especially on the forehand. He had to learn how to get more spin on that forehand. But he doesn't have the spin like this. Sinner is closer to Roger and Rafa in that regard, who could just swing as hard as they possibly could on the ball all the time because they could put so much spin on it and make it so safe. Well, what do you know? The American Maestro found a clip for you illustrating this in action, and you can see, let me just adjust this really quick. I didn't do this in my pre-game editing. There we go. Adjust this so everyone can see it a little better. Take a look at this. This point will illustrate to you how, as the rally goes on, de Minaur is taking more risk. Slow conditions are making it so this ball can't get past Sinner's defenses anyways. And then Sinner is just crunching the ball every time. On average, I don't have the mile per hour speeds for you, but on average, he was like 7 miles per hour on every single ball. Remember, when we're talking average, we're talking every single ball. On average, about 7 miles per hour faster on both forehand and backhand was Sinner over the Demon. And when he wants to rev one up and hit it extra hard and just finish a point, it's pretty safe for Jannik Sinner, both over the net because he can aim higher with the spin, and you don't have to worry about the ball going out as often because the spin brings it down, makes it drop so much faster. Take a look at this point. You can see every ball. I mean, Demon's moving great. He's the fastest guy on tour. But all of his balls are dropping a little short. And look at...
Is this the best tennis you've seen this fortnight? No?
Look at that carrot. Look at Mr. Carrot over there. Let's play that back one more time. And just watch it again. And now look at how every ball Sinner hits. It's a little faster, and it's landing closer to the baseline and pushing the Demon back. Demon had no chance at pushing Sinner back. Later in the show, we'll look at some ways that maybe he could have, but the conditions really hurt his chances on that. So pretty good return, but look at that. The first ball after the return is way deeper, way in the corner. Move him to the other corner. I mean, the Demon is such a great mover, but he just doesn't have the firepower especially as he said, great analysis from the Demon. In these conditions, it just wasn't in the cards. It wasn't possible. We got one last time. Another guy from the fake tennis news media was saying, Mr. Demon, you already told us why the Sinner kicked your ass, but could you explain it in more detail? Tell us more. How was he able to absolutely crush you in front of your friends and family tonight, Mr. Demon?
Yeah, I think what Jannik has in these conditions is he's got one very little unforced errors, and his ball speed is very high. So when you're trying to go toe to toe with him, naturally you're lifting your ball speed. So all of a sudden you're pressing more than you're used to, right? Which obviously creates a couple more unforced errors unless you're feeling the ball and feeling great. He's got amazing movement that he can absorb and defend, and he's so good out of the corners as well. So sometimes he can change defense into offense so quickly, and yeah, if you decide to be passive with him, he's got the firepower to hit those winners. And I think today he served at a very high level as well.
He did indeed serve at a high level, but and just to talk about what the Demon was saying there is basically what I was showing in the stats and the rallies. He's saying, he takes you out of the comfort zone by making you hit higher speed. You hit the ball harder, and then you make more unforced errors. And especially when you factor in the fact that he's got all that spin and Demon doesn't. Like Demon said, it's probably the worst matchup for him on the tour. Anyways, not only did Sinner serve extremely well, and that was really, a few years ago, and I was saying, hey, this guy's got it all. That was the one thing kind of holding Sinner back was his ability to come into net and play the net, you could say, and maybe he's obviously getting a lot better. But another thing that they were saying back then was that the serve was a problem. He's such a great returner, but the serve is a problem. Well, the serve has been fixed. Now he's number one. The serve is pretty world class. But look at the returning. Here's, this also goes to show you how good the serving was. The Demon did not get one return at this point in the match. Maybe he did later in the match. It's probably about halfway into the match this stat was pulled up. The Demon got no serves in that last third of the court, closer to the baseline. No serious depth. 24% extremely short returns that Sinner's going to gobble up, and 76% short-ish in the middle of the court, some of them approaching that last third of the court that you want to hit into. Look at what Sinner does. Outstanding returning from the Sinner. More than a quarter of the time, so more than 1 out of 4 returns from Sinner take you back to the baseline. And then only 5% of them were in the very short put-away kill zone, and 68%, so a lot more than half actually, a good bit more than half were in that area. But again, Sinner doesn't have to worry about that. Maybe against somebody else when his ball lands there, maybe like Ben Shelton, let's say. Ben Shelton might hit a big serve. Sinner might hit more returns in that middle of the court area. Ben Shelton can move in with the big lefty forehand and use that power to hurt Sinner, and it won't be as cold. So we definitely give him a better chance, although we don't give him a great chance. Like I said before, there's not going to be many more daytime matches with sun. In fact, there's only the one, Djokovic and Zverev, and the high is 71, 72, which is kind of perfect weather. It's pretty nice. It's what most people set their AC to here in the U.S. for you Europeans that don't understand the Fahrenheit. So just think, I forgot. Europeans don't have AC. Anyways, Shelton, they're playing the night match, 7:30 local time, and then the final Sunday, women's final too. They will be, which I'm kind of excited about this women's final. I was really interested to see that Iga Swiatek, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but she's winning every match 6-0, 6-1, 6-1, 6-2, 6-0, 6-2. She barely dropped any games, and a lot of times, more recently last year, I heard somebody comment maybe I heard it in the tennis fake news media. I can't remember where I heard this from, but somebody was saying it's overrated when they say that you've been tested early in a Grand Slam. And, having an easy run is a good thing. So I was curious to see what happened with Madison Keys since Iga had no tough matches at all. I mean, really, made it all the way to the semis without not even close to dropping a set. I mean, I don't think she ever lost more than 2 games in a set, and she lost. So I was kind of curious to see what would happen with that, especially also night conditions, slower conditions, and Madison Keys can hit so big. So some hope for Sasha Zverev there. He might be able to do what Madison Keys did and get a big upset with the big power and slower conditions. But unfortunately for him, he's not playing the night match against the Joker. He's playing the day match. So that kind of nullifies that. Maybe on Sunday it could be a factor. But I like Djokovic's chances. Finally, speaking of fake news, our favorite thing to do here is to take down fake tennis news. And here it is, our friends at the Hindustan Times. Novak Djokovic to pull out of the Australian Open semifinal versus Zverev. Serb is setting off alarm bells as he misses training again. This is clickbait, very misleading. Other people are carrying this story. You know, the usual suspects. Djokovic did not train on Wednesday or on Thursday and reportedly spent time with his physiotherapist. This is no surprise. It reminds me of the time when Patrick McEnroe saw Federer right before the 2017 Australian Open final. He watched him practice. He watched Rafa practice. Rafa's doing the high-intensity, crushing the ball practice. And Federer's barely moving, just having the ball hit up to him up the middle, hitting at a relaxed speed, not putting a ton of pace on the ball, just feeling his strokes, feeling his groove, and barely moving his feet around. And Patrick McEnroe saw that practice. I think it was Patrick McEnroe. It might have been John, but maybe it was both of them. It doesn't matter. And they thought, well, if Federer looks like this in practice and Rafa looks like that after all these 5-set matches Federer had to play, he probably doesn't have much left in him. And then he came out and had maybe the best win of his career, definitely the best comeback win of Federer's career. And Patrick McEnroe later said, I was wrong. Federer was just saving everything he had in him because he knew he was going to need it for this epic victory. And that's obviously what Joker's doing here. This is no surprise if you know the Joker. He's going to work on the physiotherapy, the massage guy, rubbing that groin, trying to increase the blood flow to the groin because God knows we're all trying to increase a little blood flow to that groin sometimes. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. Drinking coffee. So rare. What if it's tea? It could be tea. Might not even have coffee in here. It looks like coffee, doesn't it? I won't say. Could be Earl Grey. Could be Sumatra roast. Who knows? This is one of the rare times I've almost drank all of it by the time the music plays. We don't have much more time left because, as you know, on Thursdays during the second week of the Australian Open, I have to rush off and teach an important tennis group. But we do have a few more things to cover before we get into these all-exciting semifinals. Let's kick it off with predictions. Sinner wins in 4 sets. Joker plays the match. You're crazy if you believe the Hindustan Times and the fake tennis news media out there saying that Djokovic is going to pull out. And again, the real tennis media, the Patty Macs and Johnny Macs of the world, they're not saying any such nonsense. It's just some of these clickbait blogs out there that are saying that. I predict Joker does indeed play. Why would he pass this up? He'd have to be, he'd have to be injured so badly to not go out there and try. I think he's going to recover like he always does because he takes such good care of the body. And we will know more because the rumor is 1 hour and 30 minutes before match time, 1 p.m. local time, Joker will finally go to the practice courts and hit a few balls right before the match, probably on Rod Laver Arena. Anyways, it's a hard one to predict because Zverev is getting closer and closer, and he's got to have some belief here. But I'm just not going to bet against the Joker. Not yet. I haven't seen enough to think Joker's fully done. And the fact that people, no one thought he would beat Alcaraz for some reason. So many experts said he wouldn't do it. And that fuels Joker like none other. No one thought he could take out Roger and Rafa, stop their dominance. I think Joker's, and this is just unprecedented too, to be beating these guys that are like 15. They used to talk about how Federer was 5 years older than Rafa and 6 years older than Murray and Joker. We're talking 15, 16-year gaps now with Sinner and Alcaraz and Djokovic. So I'm just not going to count him out yet. And I'll say the Joker finds a way to get through Zverev in 4 or 5 sets. Let's go 4. 2 4-set matches. Back to what can anyone do to stop Jannik Sinner? That really is the big question. Obviously, I think Ben Shelton with the big serve, being a lefty, maybe that'll help a little. Big forehand weapon there. maybe coming in the net. He's got good hands. These are things that he can do. They'll give him options. More favorable conditions, not by a lot, but a little bit warmer. Not quite as hard to hit through the court. Here's one thing that the experts at ESPN tennis coverage team were saying during the Demon and Sinner match, and that was Demon should back up a little and hit some balls with height, or if, maybe stay on the baseline, but just hit the balls higher and loopier and deep to push Sinner back a little. Now, it's hard to get a ball to bounce high when it's cold weather, so that made it very difficult too, right? The conditions made all of his options more difficult. But take a look at the rally hit point. You look at Demon, only 20% of the time getting inside the baseline, 68% of the time hugging the baseline. So he was really committed to hugging that baseline, and he rarely got pushed back. He was running side to side and getting everything back, but wasn't able to hit enough depth, as we saw, and was not able to get the high loopy ball that could push Sinner back and get out of the Sinner strike zone. So they're saying maybe Demon should have backed up a little and focused on rolling some balls. Meanwhile, we look at Sinner's hit point. He was getting inside the court even more than Demon, who was obviously the Demon game plan was to take the ball super early. I saw another stat. I don't have it for you, but both players, Sinner and Demon, were taking the ball on the rise while it's taking it very early while it's still coming up 66% of the time. You don't always see that stat in big tennis matches, so it's hard to say for sure how frequent that is, but I would say that's kind of rare. It's got to be on the high end. Rare that guys playing top 10 players at this level in the later stages of Grand Slams are taking the ball that early, that frequently. So they both were doing a great job taking the ball early. It's one of the things people say about Sinner, how he's Joker 2.0, where he's a little better than the Joker maybe, is that he takes the ball early on the rise a little more frequently than the Joker does. Anyways, I just want to point out to you, so we're looking at that. Sinner not being backed up at all, right? He's about the same as the Demon. And he's getting inside, right? He's not right on the baseline as much, 61 to opposed to 68, because 26% of the time he's getting inside the baseline. And when Sinner gets there, I mean, he's going to finish everybody. But here's what happened when the Demon backed up a little, give himself a little more time and breathing room to try to do different things with the ball that he hit to the Sinner. And take a look at this. Back up a little, just a little. I mean, just took a couple steps back from his baseline position, and Sinner hit that incredible drop shot. So I'm having a hard time seeing what anyone can do to Sinner. I know at the beginning of the tournament, my pick was Djokovic to win it all. In my heart, I still feel like that's what's going to happen. That's what needs to happen to finish the story of the big three. One last incredible victory against all odds from the Joker. That's what I want to see here as a tennis fan. But it's getting tough to make a case, and hit the music because unfortunately we got to go. It's getting tough to make a case for anyone beating Sinner here. If Ben Shelton is to do it, he's going to absolutely, and I had a great comment. I'm sorry, we don't have time. The comment said that Ben Shelton relies too much on the power. And eventually, guys, really good tennis players like Sinner, will figure out the pace, will get, the timing down, and they'll start spanking those giant power balls from Shelton. And then Shelton has no answers. And I think sometimes that's true. And that just, he's a very young guy. So that's to be expected. And what he's already done in his young career is pretty impressive. So we're going to have to see the variety, which he is good at. He can do variety on the serve. He can hit different spins and different speeds. So we're going to have to see that from Shelton if he's going to have a chance against Sinner tonight. We're going to have to see him, take the ball, kind of like what Demon was doing. Stay on the baseline, stay aggressive. Don't get in a position where you're going to get drop shotted by Sinner or have Sinner creeping into the net and finishing you off there. He's going to have to try to rattle Sinner, which Demon said was impossible to do in those conditions. It's still going to be similar conditions, but a slight bit warmer. He's going to have to really dictate with the forehand. And I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see any way. I think the only people can do it are going to be Zverev and Djokovic. So we will be back for Beer Hall Freitag. Maybe we'll do it Saturday morning. We'll see how that goes because I have a lot of stuff to do on Friday as well. But I'm going to try my best to do a Beer Hall Freitag or an early Beer Hall Samstag. I'll be having to drink some beers early Saturday morning. Oh, no, that'll be terrible. I'll do my best, and we'll talk about what happened in the semifinals. How the things Shelton tried to do also didn't work, like the Demon and trying to stop the Sinner. Maybe It's possible. Shelton could play the best match of his life and win. He has to serve perfect, and he has to hit a ton of big forehands. But I don't see that. Sinner in 4, the Joker in 4 or 5. We will be back for Beer Hall Freitag oder Samstag to sprecht über all. See ya!